And hello and welcome to Open, the show opening the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I am Daren, Jaime, and today we're going to update you on what's happening in and around our borough and New York City. Coming up, we'll discuss how one organization is providing sustainable initiatives for vulnerable populations. And then we'll introduce you to an exhibition that's creating unique online archives of documentary images of the Bronx. And then we're going to tell you how one Bronx institution is expanding opportunities for people living with mental health concerns. And then after that, we'll also learn about a platform that's going to be used to bring awareness to combat the Bronx's low literacy rates. And then finally, we'll talk about some tips for people who are trying to get out to the trail for the spring season. Yes, it's getting warmer. We've got some more details a little later on in the show, so stay tuned because all this and much more heading your way. Now we are officially open. And hello, everyone. I am Daren, Jaime, and you are watching Open, a live program that's bringing the Bronx and New York City straight to you. We also want to welcome our viewers to the Manhattan Neighborhood Network, as Open is also being broadcast simultaneously on MNN's channels. Now you can stay connected to us on all of our social media platforms at BronxNet TV. Some things have been going on through the course of the past week. We'll take you through it with some Bronx updates. And we are starting off with health news. New York State Governor Kathy Hochul announced a $1 billion multi-year mental health plan. Our BronxNet reporter, Jonathan Calixto, has more details.
Today is an exciting day for many New Yorkers as Governor Hochul announces a $1 billion budget to invest in mental health here at Albert Einstein College of Medicine.
I am extremely grateful for the governor for putting aside $1 billion to help this issue because it transcends all cultures, all societies, all ages.
Having experienced a personal loss growing up, State Senator Luis Sepulveda shared what this announcement by Governor Hochul could have meant for his own mother.
I believe that if that program and that trajectory had existed when my mother was alive, that perhaps she would be alive today.
Community leaders like Yvette and State Senator Natalia Fernandez share how these services will break stigmas and directly impact many communities.
It will provide housing, it will provide service in our school, and for people who are living with mental illness. You saw that the pandemic proved that mental illness is just a fingertip away.
This is really a big step in breaking the stigma about what we need to do to help those suffering from mental illness on all levels.
This new announcement truly shows that we are New York strong. Reporting for BronxNet, Jonathan Calixto.
And thank you, Jonathan. In other news, the Bronx Coalition of Parks and Green Spaces is a grassroots collaboration of Bronx parks and open space groups advocating on a borough-wide level celebrated their annual Bronx Parks Speak Up. Our BronxNet reporter, Chanel Thompson, has a story.
The Bronx Coalition and Green Spaces gathered at Lehman College to discuss proposals, budget planning, and how they are going to strengthen the city by creating natural spaces for all Bronx residents to enjoy. Bronx Borough Commissioner for New York City Parks, Jasenia Aponte, tells us more.
As a Parkie for the last 22 years and a born and raised Bronxite who still resides and raised my children here, I can tell that the Bronx is greener, healthier, and more environmentally friendly, and it's thanks to all the hard work that you are all doing.
The theme of this year's event was Connecting the Bronx One Green Way at a Time. Outreach Coordinator for Partnership for Parks, Carl Vetter, tells us about a new app called iNaturalist, and it's a big way to dig deeper into that connection between the people and nature.
With iNaturalist, you will carry a team of biologists in your pocket You'll learn about the wildlife in your neighborhood. You may have walked past a tree your whole life and never known what it was. I didn't know the trees in my own property or yard until I was 25. That's a long time to be around trees and not knowing what they were. And with iNaturalist, most importantly, you document your story. You keep track of your observations. You see what you're engaging. This is a map of the Bronx as we know it. All these greenways, paths, blue spaces, buildings, it looks very disconnected. But one of our goals is to connect it.
Getting people on board for these new proposals can be challenging but worthwhile. Connecting with nature opens exciting new possibilities, and Bronx Council for Environmental Quality Robert Finuzzi and Harlem River Working Group Chairman Chauncey Young tells us what's to come with their new Greenway plan.
We would not be the Bronx without our fantastic network of green spaces and greenways that connect our communities but also connect our parks. And we are really so happy that DPR and the coalition and DOT are here because this is the defining aspect of our borough, a borough with an emerald necklace of beautiful parks connected by greenways. If there's one thing we all need and we all want, it's access to our parks. Greenways get us there.
The reason for the Greenway plan was to connect communities to our existing parks, right? Creating that network. So the Harlem River Greenway has been a part of that visioning since the very beginning, connecting communities from the South Bronx, where there's less parks, to the North Bronx, that beautiful park in Van Cortlandt, and hopefully these networks to also connect us to the Pelham Park and our beautiful Orchard Beach.
For more information on how you can attend the next meeting, you can visit their website at www.bronxspeakup.org. Reporting for BronxNet, Chanel Thompson.
And thank you, Chanel. That is all the time we have for our Bronx updates. We are taking a quick break, but don't go anywhere. We'll have more open when we return.
I don't know why you're so sad. You've got a roof over your head.
Bro, you gotta stop with that depression stuff. That's a white people thing.
Escúchame, en esta casa los hombres no lloran.
You all right?
It just feels like it's coming from everywhere.
Do you want to talk about it?
Thanks for hearing me out, bro. Appreciate it.
You can talk to me if you're feeling sad.
Whenever you need to talk, I'm here, okay?
And we are back. According to a 2022 study, negative environmental factors and rising temperatures can compound social and economic conditions and lead to higher levels of chronic health problems such as asthma, diabetes, and hypertension in vulnerable low-income communities. Now, with April being Earth Month, HANAC is providing sustainable initiatives for vulnerable populations. And sharing more in this conversation, we've got the Executive Director of HANAC. We've got Stacy Bliagos. And Stacy, good to have you.
Good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, and so a conversation that really needs to be had. When we talk about what's going on in our community, we know that there are a lot of environmental factors. And to now see the adverse effect that it's actually coming to pass, it's kind of troubling for a lot of people.
It is. It absolutely is. And as a nonprofit that has been around for the last 51 years, not only do we want to provide social service programs that help members of our community, but we want to provide programs that are actually sustainable and helpful to the environment and decrease our carbon footprint. So examples like our weatherization program, where we actually have a state contract that we help low-income homeowners actually assess their home and provide insulation, provide windows that help them reduce their heating bill, reduce factors coming in from outside, provide changes to the boiler, for example, or provide changes to the roof. If anybody knows HANAC, We have had the first passive house in Corona, Queens, and really passive house is just designing in a certain way. There are certain design standards for it, but they potentially cut costs for individuals and provide health benefits up to 90%, just not only for the tenant, but for the homeowner, and cut energy and consumption up to 90%. So those are very important, not only to tenants' everyday lives and people's everyday lives, but also for the environment that we are all sharing.
When we talk about low-income residents, we know that they suffer from chronic health issues. Plenty of people who are on the Cross Bronx will tell you that the amount of traffic on the Cross Bronx causes a lot of health challenges. When it seems very prevalent that in low-income communities, there seems to be the victimization of environmental injustice. Can you talk about that?
Sure. So, I mean, obviously putting, investing in these construction buildings and all, and these programs obviously does cost money, but ultimately it pays off at the end with helping people live longer lives, live better lives, and not necessarily having to go to so many doctors. And you think you mentioned at the beginning where many people suffer from asthma. You know, having the right environment in your home, whether it's the right windows, keeping certain pollutants out of your home, really can help with that. The noise factor that always occurs, especially in every, not just the Bronx, but in many, all the boroughs, having certain, designing certain, having certain design standards, allows individuals to live healthier lives. That even goes down to sleeping patterns, right? Like if you think about it, if you can't sleep at night, how are you going to possibly be a productive member of society during the day and having to go to work? So it goes down to even the most minor issues, but at the end of the day, people may look at it as minor. It's not really that minor.
No, when you talk about not being minor, it's often said that one person's normal is another person's miracle. And when we think about what's going on in people's lives, particularly low-income families, the struggle is really about sustainability. How do I get sustainability in these particular areas? And I'm glad I got you here because I know your organization really does a good job of really trying to provide sustainability for low-income families.
We do. And again, it's just a matter of thinking through the small, again, I use these words like small, and we both agree that they're not small. But when you're trying to conduct these programs, as an organization, we always have an eye of how can we provide an effective program for the community, but also reduce the carbon footprint that our organization leaves. So, for example, our HANAC Cornerstone program started the first hydroponic lab in the city of New York, right? And that is teaching young kids, young students, how they can actually grow nutritious food in a lab, and also provides them STEM activities at the same time, right? And this is something that, again, this is just an example and it's not minor, but when we're talking about how we can change people's lives for the better and also help the environment, it's really looking at the minor tasks that we're doing and seeing how we can change it and add programs. And that could be through many avenues, but it's creating programs that help individuals, but also provide these sustainability standards. And, the weatherization program is one. You wouldn't think about, whether the weatherization program that's funded by the state. Our program actually goes in and it installs carbon monoxide detectors. Now, you would think that carbon monoxide detectors are always installed, right? Not so much with lower income individuals that are underserved and need more assistance, right? So it's looking at how we can change the lives of individuals, but also, changing the community. Changing the lives of individuals, but also helping the environment.
I know that one of the great successes that you had is over the Corona Senior Housing. And when we talk about energy initiatives, you're actually able to do some things there. I understand that you were able to cut energy costs by about 90%.
Yeah, I mean, if you think it was the first passive house in the United States for senior residents, so we're very, very proud about that. But when we went into the project, we thought, how can we create a building that is sustainable for the residents and for the environment? And again, it's thinking about boilers and constructing the right windows so that heat doesn't exit. It's having solar panels so that individuals can have heat in the wintertime without necessarily increasing the costs of heating. So it's thinking through all of this, and we did that, and it was the first senior affordable housing in the United States. And we hope to continue with our new developments in the future.
Stacy, how do people access the resources to know whether it's weatherization, whether it's the assistance that you provide? Where are some of the places that they can go to be able to find out the help that's actually available to them? Because if we really put it out there, so many people struggle from really just a lack of access to resources.
So the one thing is that they can absolutely contact us through our website. And even if we are not in their borough or in their district, we would have the resources to actually refer them to other nonprofits that would be able to help them within their resources. So for example, our weatherization program, our contract with the state is to help individuals in Queens. However, if you called our phone number and if you contacted us via email, we would absolutely get you the nonprofit that would help you in your district, whether that's the Bronx, whether that's Manhattan. So we would actually be able to connect you with those resources. So just because most of our offices are based in Queens, we can absolutely help you if you contact us by phone or through our website, because we can connect you with the right people in your borough, can provide you that immediate help and resources.
Stacy Bliagos, Executive Director of HANAC, thank you so much for being with us, and want to have you back again sometime to talk a little bit more about this, but great information here. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All righty. And we want to let you know if you want more information, visit the website at hanac.org. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more show, more opens coming up right after this.
Most hiring algorithms would scream me out.
Some bosses couldn't see me as a leader.
I've run this place for 20 years, but I still need to prove that I'm more than what you see on paper.
I've been running code as long as I've been able to reach a keyboard.
This is what I do. It's second nature for me, coordinating 100 details at once.
It's the way my mind works. I have a very mechanical brain.
I sold them on my skills.
You gotta be so good they can't ignore you.
My magic is
analytics and empathy. That's how I'm getting clients. You have to have the confidence in yourself to show up and defy the odds.
I'm more than who I am on paper.
I never got a college degree. And today, I'm the CEO of my own company. People want to tell me I'm one in a million, when actually I'm one of millions. Stars are all around us. It's time for them to shine.
And welcome back. Everyday Bronx is an exhibition exclusively, I should say, featuring photographs from its followers and rewrites the narrative of the Bronx, one photo at a time, telling complex stories from often overlooked daily lives right here in our borough. And joining us now to tell more is the founder of Everyday Bronx. We've got Rhynna M. Santos, and also we've got contributing photographer Roselyn Grullon. Thank you so much for being with us, and thank you for sharing. And Rhynna, I'll start with you. Tell me a little bit about Everyday Bronx. You know, when we talk about the borough of the Bronx, so much out there, but you've taken an opportunity to really try to capture the essence of what we have here in the borough.
Absolutely. First of all, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having us. And the Bronx, you know, there's so many misconceptions about the borough of the Bronx, about who lives here, the type of life that happens here, and what Everyday Bronx, which is an Instagram account. We are part of the Everyday Projects, what we really want to tell is a more corrective history of our borough and the people who live and work here. And we do that through showing images taken by people who work and who live in the Bronx. And the most wonderful thing about it is that it's curated by people who also live here in the Bronx. So it's curated with a Bronx point of view.
Have this exhibition coming up, and what can people expect?
Well, they can expect over 300 images. Also, we have slideshows and we have different videos. We also have a magnificent mural that was done during the exhibition by Kay Love, who is an excellent graffiti artist here in the Bronx. And it basically is, you know, image by image, you know, it tells individual stories that make a whole. And of course, the account continues to grow, so we continue to add images day by day.
And Roselyn, I want to bring you in because you have the opportunity to actually be a part of this exhibition. You are sharing your photography. And what is it that people who are going to take an opportunity to see your work, what are they going to be able to experience?
Thank you so much for having me. So I guess they're just going to experience the real Bronx and, you know, the Bronx through each contributor's perspective. And, you know, their stories, their environment, the people they capture, and just everyone's individual experience of the Bronx. I feel like that's the main thing they're going to experience.
And when we talk about individual experiences of the Bronx, can you give me a little bit more detail as to and what does that look like? What does that come across as?
I guess thinking about, you know, people's certain neighborhoods, the people they're around, what they love capturing. Me specifically, I love capturing the 6th train. I love capturing Longwood, which is my neighborhood. And I feel like with Everyday Bronx, like that's the essence of it, like the curation and curating people's photography and showcasing that.
Yeah. And Rhynna, when we talk about showcasing talent, we've got a lot of talent right here in our very own backyard. How hard is it for you to get people together and get people to share their talent with you?
Well, we ask our followers, if you want us to repost your images, to use the hashtag EverydayBronx for us to be able to consider your photo for reposting. You can also add us, and that would also help us to look at the images, because we also we always give credit to all the photographers. We want to ensure that we are really highlighting the talent that is here by contributors that do share our images. And in the beginning of the feed, it was very difficult. You know, the beginning, we started in 2014 and Instagram had only been around for a little bit. And so there wasn't that culture of hashtag. And so there weren't that many images that we use. But now, thank God, with the popularity of the feed, we're able to have a lot of images to choose from. But we always want more. And please, if you don't follow Everyday Bronx, please give us a follow at Everyday Bronx on Instagram.
We talked in the beginning about the narrative and how the Bronx has been, you know, looked at. And for a long time, we've always been receiving some knocks, some fair, but mostly a lot of times people just look at the Bronx and have an adverse opinion of it. Your work, exhibition, showing these photos, how do you feel like the landscape has changed through the lens of people based on what you've been able to bring to the table?
I know that I see a big difference, at least on this platform, Instagram, on what is hashtags Bronx, the kind of stories. One thing that is really important for us is to create this online archive that you can look up, you know, images of the Bronx taken by people who actually work and live there, not by, you know, photographers that drop into the borough. And I think that everybody has an opinion of the Bronx, and it usually is incredibly negative, and that affects our community. And what's beautiful about this project is that it is about community revolution, community documenting and telling their own stories. And I do think now that there is a tide. The reason that we really push cell phone photography on Instagram is because it's accessible. And so we want as many people to have access to tell their own stories, not for other people to tell the story of what the Bronx is. And we, number one, do this account for Bronxites. We want Bronxites to be proud of where they come from, to also see the complexity of who we are and the incredible historical contributions that we've made, not just to the Bronx or to New York City, but the world.
And Roselyn, you talked about your community, and hopefully people will be able to see your community in a different light. What is it in particular that you're looking to highlight, what you're looking to show, that maybe everybody else may not be so familiar with?
I guess the beauty of it all, also kind of documenting the Bronx now because it is a changing landscape, and also bringing into important issues going on in the neighborhood as well, like gentrification or just issues that we go through as a community. So I think showcasing that through photography.
And for you, what's the greatest, takeaway that you got out of this experience? Going back into your home community, looking, shaking photos, and bringing to life really what some people don't know anything about.
I guess being able to capture that and showcasing that through social media, and also connecting with all these other Bronx people and photographers, and and the work that we do and showcase. So that creating that connection and being part of it was amazing.
Yeah. Rhynna, before we go, let's talk about how people can really have an opportunity to take advantage of these great images that really portray our borough in such a beautiful way.
You can see our exhibition at the Bronx Documentary Center at 614 Cortlandt Ave in the South Bronx. Gallery hours from Thursday to Sunday. And the exhibition will be up until May 14th, when we're going to have a big culminating event where people are going to be able to take portraits for Mother's Day. And also, don't forget, follow us on Instagram. We want to hit our goal of 50,000 followers.
All right, well, that's good information there. We got to leave it there. Thank you both so much for joining us. Congratulations, and yes, keep putting our borough in the best light possible. Thank you for the work that you guys do.
Thank you.
All righty. Well, I want to let you know, for more information, you can visit their website at Everyday Bronx. As she said, trying to get to 50,000 followers, and that's achievable, so help them out. Don't go anywhere. We got more open coming up right after this.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. Can you see anything different as a pill?
No.
You don't know?
Fentanyl is being mixed into everything now. There's only one thing that will save somebody's life. That is naloxone nasal spray.
Fentanyl, it's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
Why would drug dealers put a lethal dose of fentanyl in drugs if they know it's so harmful?
Really just all about the money.
I just didn't realize that one pill could change your whole life.
More kids should know.
In technology news, according to a 2021 report, 80% of white adults report owning a laptop or desktop computer, in comparison to just 69% of black adults and 67% of Hispanic adults. Community Access is working to address the digital divide with an expansion of opportunities and services for the people that they serve. And here now, we've got sharing more information, the CEO of Community Access, and we've got Cal Hedigan. And thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you. The numbers are kind of, well, it's kind of startling to some extent to look and see that there is, first of all, that gap, and then second of all, to understand that, you're talking about nearly when it comes to the African-American community, 7 out of 10 possibly have access to computers. While some people may say that's good, when you look at the statistics and you start merging them together, this divide is very real.
No, it really is. And I think one of the things we really learned during the early and middle of the COVID-19 pandemic, as so many services switched to virtual services, the impact of that digital divide on people who don't have access either to the equipment or the internet connectivity was really amplified, and it really made it so clear how important it is to close this divide so people are not cut off from opportunities, both for, health and mental health care, but also training, education. So many things in our world today depend on being able to connect virtually.
Can you make our viewers just a little bit more aware? Because when we talk about a digital divide, sometimes people aren't so familiar. So let's break down what that actually means for people within the community to be a part of a digital divide. What does that look like?
I think it looks like having more than a smartphone. So access to a device, whether that is a laptop computer or a standalone computer. It also means connectivity, the ability to reliably connect to the internet. And it also means having the skills and the familiarity with this technology in order to be able to use it in your day-to-day life.
Yeah. And so, Cal, you're the CEO of Community Access. Talk to us about Community Access and the work that you do.
Thank you. I'd love to. Community Access is a New York City-based nonprofit. We serve people with mental health concerns in a variety of ways. We began as a housing organization. Today we have over 1,600 units of supportive and affordable housing across 3 New York City boroughs, serving people living with mental health concerns who also have experienced homelessness, and affordable housing for families from the community. In addition to our housing, we have a variety of other services that serve people living with mental health concerns, including a job training program that helps people become providers of services within the mental health system, a supported education program, and a variety of mobile teams that serve people who are disconnected from care and experiencing homelessness, and a number of other ones I won't go on, but they are all geared to helping people who have been identified as having a mental health concern live successfully and thrive in the community.
For those who don't know, take us a little bit deeper, because when we talk about some of the challenges that your population that you serve really deals with, talk about some of the challenges that your constituents are having that you're actually able to really bridge the gap on.
Well, as I mentioned, one of the core of what we do is supportive housing. And so what that is housing with on-site service supports to really help people thrive, identify goals that they have, connect them to services that they may want, and from that sort of very stable foundation of housing, just be able to look at all the other areas of their life that they might want to change how things are going for them now, whether that might be reconnecting with family, that might be restarting an education, that might be, deciding on a training program for a career path. But it's really about working with people where they are, finding out what they want in their lives and trying to facilitate helping them on that journey.
And so for people who want to get more information, to be connected, and maybe they're watching a program right now and saying, listen, I could really use some help. I'm part of that digital divide. I need some assistance. So what do they do?
Our website is communityaccess.org. And on there's a full sort of array of information about our services and how to connect to us.
Yeah. I know one of the things that you also deal with is, you talk about the digital divide, but also healthcare access, right? And that's very huge, and that's a topic of discussion. Can you give us some insight as to how you're able to really connect the dots for people in the area of healthcare? Because we can talk about what COVID has produced, and we can see how that divide really plays out.
And I just want to go for a minute, because obviously I forgot to mention our digital equity initiative in terms of our services. We have a grant right now to connect 300 of participants in our services with computers, with connectivity, and with digital literacy education. And one of the reasons that we're doing that is to help people access health care. So as I mentioned earlier, there's so many more opportunities to connect virtually for these healthcare services in the community. It's much easier to get a timely appointment. And if people don't have either the familiarity with how to log on to or the equipment, that's just yet another barrier to people accessing the healthcare services that they need, whether it be primary health or mental health and well-being.
Yeah. And so if somebody doesn't have access to these resources and say, for instance, I don't have a laptop, I don't have a computer, there are programs, and I know that you're very much, in the know, that can actually connect people to being able to have these, right?
Yes. The one that we're using is through a grant, but we also do make efforts to attempt people who might not even have a cell phone or smartphone technology, because that can be a real point of entry for some people in order to be more familiar with connecting to the internet, using the internet. So that's one of the things. We connect people to low-cost mobile phones. And we also have we have computer labs in all of our housing sites where people, it's a little like the library model, where people can go into our computer labs and learn skills and connect to virtual services through the on-site computer labs.
For yourself, what have you been seeing that maybe you can give us some little behind the scenes on? Because with the client population that you have, so many times we're not always fully abreast of the things that are going on. Are there some common threads that we're seeing amongst the community that maybe we need to be paying attention to?
I think really trying to get rid of all of these barriers to access, where people may be living in under-resourced communities where broadband in and of itself is an issue. I know New York City has a broadband plan, but there are many communities where even if you have a Wi-Fi connection, because of the lack of the infrastructure in the city, it makes it that more challenging for people to be able to live and in a digital universe, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. Well, Cal, I want to thank you so much for joining us and sharing a little bit about what's going on, and great job in trying to close that digital divide, because it is real. Thanks much.
Thank you so much.
All righty. Well, I want our viewers to know, if you want more information, please go ahead and visit the website at Community Access. I'm losing my earpiece right here, but I'm going to be able to hear. CommunityAccess.org. Encourage you, don't go anywhere. We got more open coming up right after this.
Feel the beat of nature at a park or forest near you. Find a forest and music inspired by nature at discovertheforest.org.
Even though we didn't grow up together, he's my favorite brother.
Hey, sis.
I'm the baby of the family, and he's the gentle giant.
What you know about Poor Georgia?
Man, please, that's a classic.
You know when they say people are a rare breed? Yeah, he's that.
I'm sorry, I'll be back in a few hours.
Don't worry, Shug, you know I'm for you.
I know.
Go get the football.
That was my favorite memory. He was always for ya. This is a true story of me, Bridget Floyd, and this guy, George Perry Floyd Jr., my big brother.
And welcome back. Loc'd and Lit is a platform that's using individuals' love of reading to bring awareness to the low literacy rates in the South Bronx. Now, they combat this issue through the launch of their online bookstore and efforts to open a bookstore for all ages in the South Bronx. Now, we were recently joined by the co-founders of Loc'd and Lit, Alanna Ramirez and Triciah Claxton, to tell us more information about their company. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, and thank you for filling the gap. I mean, really, that's really what we're talking about, because the work that you do is really helping in the area of literacy. Illiteracy is huge across the country, but here particularly in the Bronx, I mean, we've got a lot of it going on and a lack of books, but you're filling the gap. So first of all, tell us a little bit about what you do.
So we are Locked and Lit. As you mentioned, we are filling the gap of bringing a bookstore to the Bronx. So the Bronx currently has 1.5 million residents and only one brick and mortar bookstore, the Lit Bar, which is located in the South Bronx, located in the South Bronx. And then so we just believe that we need to provide more options, more accessibility to books, to literacy as a whole, to the borough.
So we have kind of like several things going on, but we have 2 book clubs, one in person, one virtual, and we also host book giveaway events as well as our bookstore. That's the ultimate mission, to bring another bookstore to the Bronx, but we do have our online shop and several pop-up events throughout the year.
When did it come to mind that we need to do something about this? Because I remember having Lit here when she was first getting started.
Yeah,
and that's dating myself, I'm going to tell you, but I'll be there in a minute. But when she was here, I remember talking and saying, there's only one, Barnes & Noble's Co-op City.
Yep.
Next thing you know, Barnes & Noble's Co-op City goes out. If she never did what she did, we wouldn't even have that. And now yourselves.
Yes, Noelle Santos, shout out to her for the Lit Bar. But yeah, so for us, it really came into...
It's been like an evolution, kind of a growth. When we started Locked and Lit, we really just started on social media, on Instagram, and our friendship, books have always been a part of it. So as much as we're like best friends, we always talk about the books that we're reading. So when we just started to launch the Instagram page, it was just to like talk about the books that we were reading together. But from that lane, it just kind of morphed and grew as we got more into the literacy space, and especially the Bronx literacy space. As those stats were hitting us, we're born and raised in the Bronx too, it was like we just couldn't just sit back. Like, we just felt compelled to do what our part, what little we can.
Did it amaze you at all to understand how bad the desert is here in the Bronx when it comes to books?
Yeah, so we were aware of the one bookstore, but when we came across like the literacy rates, 70% of third graders read below grade level, and then 43% of adults lack basic literacy pros. So when you put those numbers together, those stats, it's 1/3 of the Bronx's total population that cannot read at the proper literacy rate, and that's astounding. And that's one of the reasons why we're not focused on just children, just adults, or just teens, but we're bringing literacy across the board for all ages.
Yeah. So how can somebody get connected to knowing about what you got going on? Because you have some real great things happening, and really for someone, the opportunity to improve in the area of reading and finding out what some great books are.
So you can connect with us via our website, lockedandlit.com, LOCDANDLIT.com, or on social media, locked_and_lit.
I also want to talk about the fact that you are one of the Department of Education vendors.
Yes.
That's huge, right?
Yes.
Congratulations about that. I mean, that's major. What does that mean to you, and what does that mean for the work that you do?
So it's phenomenal because it allows us the opportunity to kind of start with children. So we just got our DOE vendor license in December, and already we've had workshops as well as book fairs within the school. We primarily focus on promoting BIPOC authors, and we believe it's very important that children see themselves in the stories and look on the cover of books. And so when we go into having our book fairs, they are astounded to see like all these books by representation of themselves and their communities.
That's something I think a lot of people talk about, the fact that when we see authors, they don't necessarily look like they're from the Black and brown community. However, we know there are many people out there writing, many people out there with great work, but sometimes not a place to really showcase their work because either mainstream or chooses not to highlight. So for yourselves, that passion itself, that's got to be a good feeling because not only are you helping improve literacy rates, but on the other side, you're also helping authors really get their name in their shine.
Yes, and just this Saturday we had an event at Harlem Hayground called Books in Bloom, and it was the opportunity to have a free book distribution where we distributed over 1,000 free books to the community, but we also highlighted local authors, Bronx independent authors as well as poets. So we use our platform not only to elevate our literacy advocacy, but also to highlight local authors and poets.
So you guys have been doing this for a minute.
Yes.
And you have been friends for more than a minute, right? So this is a lifelong passion, I think, as you guys have really weaved this together. How long have you been friends?
We've been friends for years.
Since we were in the 2nd grade.
Don't forget Google. We can find this stuff out now.
Yes, but since the 2nd grade, we've been friends, and our one of the common denominators has always been around books. So
we're both bookworms.
Yeah. Talk to me about that, because there's that stigma, and it's always said that sometimes people of color are not the ones that like to read. But from your gathering, we know that there are so many people who like to read, and not just, the common books. There's so many different genres that people delve into.
With my children, as I was trying to make sure I instilled that love of reading in them too, I just started with their interests. So when they were smaller, it was like, I remember one was into trains, one was into dinosaurs, and I just gave them picture books geared towards that. And I always say that there's a book for everybody out there. Whatever you're into, you can find it in a book.
Yeah.
And what about, how do you cultivate literacy into the life of a young person, or maybe somebody who hasn't had the opportunity to really take advantage of reading at an early age? How can the person go about cultivating that literacy and just wanting to be able to, get these books and find out what's behind the cover?
Go ahead.
Well, making time, but something that I like currently in the reading landscape, there's a lot of different options. So just sitting there with the pages, people's brain processes things in different ways, but audiobooks are available. Ebooks.
Right.
Ebooks are also available too. So I love a nice thick book, but when I can't lug that all around, I can just pop up my phone, pop up my e-reader, and be able to get into it. But I think it starts with interest. Books are a comfort, they're an escape. So I think whatever you need from a book, it can give you that. If you want to learn something more, if you want education, you can find that in a book. If you want to just tap out for a couple minutes, escape, you can find that in a great story that's anywhere in the world. If you want self-help improvement, there's that too. So I think start with what you need, and it's there for you.
So on the book club, on the average, how many books a year are you reading?
So before joining the book corner,
answers get ready to come, y'all. I feel something's getting ready to happen here.
Last year I did 53 books.
Okay.
Before joining the book corner of Instagram, it's called Bookstagram. Before joining Bookstagram, I thought I was doing something. I was like 12, 13, and I was like, yeah, I'd be reading. But then you get over there and you see people are doing like
100. People are already at 100 books in the month of April. So,
I ain't reading the whole book. That's something.
I might be an audiobook or something.
Right, Cliff Notes or
something. But no, it's just like it's just that you can get lost in the pages of a book. So like prior to this, I think I was reading more because now we're focusing on business and everything. But yeah, we can average up to like 50-something books a year.
Wow. Triciah, Alanna, thank you so much for being with us. Continue.
Thank you.
Best wishes with Loc'd and Lit. We'll certainly be following, and glad to know that you're doing this, and it certainly fills a gap in our community that's much needed. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
All righty. Now listen, if you want more information, go ahead and visit the website at lockedandlit.com, and of course, follow them on Instagram at lockedandlit. Don't go anywhere. We got more show coming up. We'll be back with more Open right after this.
Every day, thousands of kids start vaping. And I can't let this happen to my kid. Of course, it's awkward to talk to your kids about the dangers of vaping. Hey, bestie, how's sketches? Ready? It's hard to get their attention. Ready? Go. Yes, look at that. You even turn yours over. So if you want to talk to your kids about the dangers of vaping, you have to get it trending. Right, Backpack Kid?
Let's do it.
First, invite your kid to do the vape talk. Let's try this. All right.
Why is he here?
Yeah, I gotta get it trending, honey.
Come on.
To the left. To the right. Let's go.
Oh, honey, can we talk?
Yeah, what's up?
I see a lot of your friends vaping.
Visit talkaboutVaping.org for tips on when and how to have the vape talk.
And we are back with spring being here. Millions of Americans are using the opportunity to spend more time being active outdoors. And sharing now how to make the most out of America's trails is the Vice President of Communications at Rails to Trails Conservancy. We've got Brandi Horton. And Brandi, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
It's a beautiful time of the year, at least for us. It's opportunity to see people really get outdoors and make the most of it. And so we talk about making the most of it. So I want to talk about a few things, but first off, I want to tell you that Earth Day is right around the corner, huh?
Earth Day is around the corner, and it's also a really special Earth Day because it coincides with Celebrate Trails Day, which is the annual springtime celebration of the nation's trails. So it's a perfect day to get outside and to be active.
And when we talk about trails, you know, a lot of people take advantage of them during the spring, the summer, the opportunity to really check it out. Talk to us about the uniqueness of trails and really how people are gravitating more and more towards them.
So multi-use trails in particular, these are spaces where you can walk, you can bike, you can push a stroller. If you're using a mobility device like a wheelchair, they're really accessible. Many multi-use trails are built from former railroad corridors. And because of that, they have a gentle grade. You know, trains didn't like to go uphill. And so these trails kind of are more accessible in that way. They also tend to have a hard packed surface. So it makes them a really special place where you can do all different kinds of activities. You can go out with little kids, you can be out there regardless of your ability level, and really kind of enjoy those spaces. They're also great because if you live in an urban environment or you live in a suburban environment, sometimes you forget about the nature that's all around you, but you can be on the trail and kind of immersed in nature so quickly, whether that's, you know, access to the waterfront, access to green space, animals, wildlife, all sorts of things happen on the trail. I live outside of DC and I see deer almost every day on my commute into the office, which, you know, a lot of times people wouldn't expect. That's a great example.
So talk to me about some of the possibilities for somebody. Maybe they're not a trail expert. Maybe they haven't done this before. But what are some of the things that people can do to really, you know, access, get out there and make the most of this spring season?
I think one of the most important things to say is to just get out there and do it. There's no wrong way to use the trail. So some folks want to get out there and just kind of find a bench and be immersed in nature and really enjoy that experience. Some folks, you know, maybe it's a short 10 or 15-minute walk just to clear your mind and shake the cobwebs out. Some folks are going to make it a whole day and they might want to bike 100 miles, right? There's all sorts of options. The beauty is that there are so many trails in New York. There's over 130 trails in your state. There, some of you might be familiar as well with the Empire State Trail, which is 750 miles. There's so many chances to connect with trails all across New York. And in New York City, too, the Hudson River Greenway is just a beloved pathway. So there's no wrong way. I think the best thing to do is get out your sneakers or get out your bike and make a plan and get out there and do it. And April 22nd is a perfect day to make that happen.
So you have Celebrate Trails Day, and then you also have Earth Day, the two actually right there. And there's an importance there because for you, I mean, obviously, having the opportunity to continue to have people take to the trails, become more aware of the trails, but then also it's the all nature and Earth Day. Talk to us about that correlation.
Well, trails have such an incredible impact in our communities in so many different ways. For us physical health, mental well-being, trails are invaluable, right? They give us space to be active. They help us kind of hit our physical activity goals, all of those kinds of things. But when we talk about places, trails do something really special. They create community in ways. They bring people together. When you're out on the trail, it's really rare that you see somebody who's not happy. People are waving at each other. You're meeting neighbors you might not otherwise ever have a chance to kind of connect with. And there's some common ground in that space. They also provide important transportation options for folks. And that is something people don't often think about, right? Most of the car trips in our country are within a 20-minute walk or a bike ride. And so when trails are kind of connected into the community, connected to each other, connected to sidewalks and other transportation infrastructure, suddenly you can use them as ways to get around. They're protected from vehicle traffic. It's a little bit safer. That helps reduce your carbon footprint. The other thing that trails do for the environment is they just really kind of build a deeper connection and appreciation for all of us to nature. When you're out there and you're able to kind of experience the wildness that's all around you, again, even a city or a suburban space, suddenly your stewardship is built. Suddenly you believe more in the importance of protecting the space. So whether it's building that stewardship or kind of taking a deeper action and swapping out a car trip for a trail trip, trails serve a really important role in helping kind of create climate action in our communities and in our day-to-day lives.
But also, you have to admit that it's also about a safe space, right? That there is some safe space for somebody to come out and walk, exercise, take an opportunity to take a ride, and do it in such a way that is, relaxing, and at the same time it's scenic, and it really is healthy.
That's right. My best days of the week are the weeks that I decide to bike to work, right? So my body's pumping. I've had some really great fresh air. I might have bumped into one of my dear friends and all of a sudden my day is just off to a totally different start. So having that safe space, you're away from vehicle traffic. That is just so important for so many people to getting active and kind of being active in outdoor spaces.
Yeah. So what do people do if they want to get connected, they want to support, because in addition to Earth Day and taking to the trails, there is some public support that can be given to support this endeavor?
All the time. So railstotrails.org is going to be the hub for everything. Whether it's becoming a member of Rails to Trails Conservancy and really kind of being a part of that grassroots advocacy, or taking kind of an independent action, or participating in days like Celebrate Trails Day, which are really important demonstrations of the importance of trails all across the country, to our local leaders, to our elected officials at all levels of government. Railstotrails.org is where you can find all of that information. So there's events for Celebrate Trails Day you can find there. There's tips and there's information for being active outside on trails. And there's also an app called TrailLink that you can download to your phone or you can get from the web that helps you to find trails near you. So if you want to find a new trail, or you want to kind of discover some opportunities that you haven't been aware of before, great tool for you. You can also find us on social media at Rails to Trails, and tag us on Celebrate Trails Day, #CelebrateTrails. And a big part of this is just lifting the story of how important trails are to all of our day-to-day lives, so that it's valued as infrastructure that should be invested in as a country.
Yeah. Well, Brandi, thank you so much for joining us and being here talking about Rails to Trails Conservancy. And she is the Vice President of Communications. And thank you so much for being with us and give us a little bit more insight. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All righty, Brandi Horton, our guest here. And guess what? If you want more information, visit the website at railstotrails.org. And then also follow them on social media at Rails to Trails. Well, we've come to the end of our show today. I want to thank our guests for joining us, and most of all, you, the viewer, for tuning in. If you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the recablecast on Optimum's Channel 67, Verizon Files, that's Channel 2133, or watch anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. Now, you can catch a brand new episode of Open with Rhynna Valentine on Friday, and I want to let you know, this wraps it up for this episode. I am Daren Jaime, telling you make sure to keep this channel wide open, saying take care. God bless.